Will EVs completely take over the automotive world? Well, not long ago, experts were convinced that electric cars would take over the roads, but it seems that's not happening as quickly as they thought. Let's find out why. A new survey showed that fewer people are into electric cars nowadays, and Hertz recently said it's selling 20,000 electric cars. It seems like folks are not as interested in electric vehicles as they used to be. One big reason why people aren't keen on electric vehicles is because it's hassle to charge them. Not many drivers want to spend time planning where to charge their car and waiting for it to fill up. When it got really cold recently, it took even longer for electric cars to charge up. In freezing weather, electric car batteries have to use some of their own power just to stay warm. No matter how much the government tries to encourage electric cars with subsidies and rules, people still prefer the convenience and reliability of gasoline. They're also realising that electric cars haven't lived up to the promise of being better for the environment. A key ingredient in electric car batteries, cobalt, comes from mines in the Congo, controlled by the Chinese Communist Party. Kids as young as 4 work in dangerous conditions for very little pay. The cobalt then goes to China to be processed. Even after all this, only a small fraction of batteries get recycled. Even though electric cars are called zero emissions, most of the electricity they use comes from coal and natural gas. Despite attempts to switch to cleaner energy sources, like wind and solar, they still only make up a small part of the power grid. People are starting to see that the lower sticker price of electric cars, thanks to government subsidies, actually ends up costing a lot more in the long run, especially for those with less money. In a recent hearing about electric car incentives, something important was left out. Every electric car sold adds about $50,000 in extra costs for taxpayers. This is according to new research. In 2021 alone, taxpayers had to shell out $21 billion because of this. But it's not just our taxes taking a hit. Setting up charging stations at home and in public places puts a big strain on the power grid. Over 10 years, each electric car ends up costing us about $11,833 through our electricity bills. Rising utility bills are a big concern, and they're not just a hassle, they can even be dangerous. A report from the Energy Information Administration found that 27% of American households struggle to pay their energy bills. Almost as many had to skip things like getting medicine or buying groceries just to keep up. Some even had to keep their homes at unsafe temperatures or got notices that their power would be shut off. And that's all based on data from 2020, before prices started going up. Even though electric car sales are going up, it's like the drivers in small towns and rural areas that car companies need to persuade now. Electric cars are starting to make lawmakers happy. Last year, they made up nearly 10% of all new cars registered, and hybrids were even more popular. But just look at the overall numbers of electric cars sold in the US doesn't give the full picture, because some states aren't really keen on switching to battery power. In a recent report, the New York Times showed that places like California are leading the way in electric cars. In cities like San Francisco, about 30% of new cars sold in 2023 were electric. But in places like New York and Detroit, Michigan, it's a whole different story. In 2023, more than 30% of new cars registered in the San Francisco Bay Area were electric, according to data from S&P Global Mobility. In Los Angeles, it was nearly 25%. But as Mr. Libby mentioned, there are still parts of the US that aren't really into electric cars. Only 3% of cars registered in Detroit, known for its auto industry, were electric. And in Bismarck, North Dakota, it was just 1%. Research shows that Americans who have switched to electric cars are usually wealthier, younger, and more likely to live in cities compared to others. Many said they were influenced by caring for the environment, while some were intrigued by the latest technology. In the US, people are buying electric cars, but not as quick as analysts thought they would. There are a few key reasons why most people stick to gasoline. Over the years, experts have talked up electric cars as the future of transportation, expecting Americans to embrace them eagerly and quickly. While the electric car market is growing, it's happening much slower than expected. Since 2016, electric car sales in the US have been on the rise. From around 65,000 sold in 2017, they jumped to over 800,000 in 2022. Data from Motor Intelligence showed a 51% increase in EV sales in the first half of 2023, continuing the upward trend. But even though it's growing, the rate of growth slowed a bit compared to last year's 71% increase in the same period. Tesla, leading the market with over half of all electric car sales, recently reported its lowest quarterly earnings in 2 years, causing its stock value to drop by $138 billion. Some American car companies are changing their plans based on their signals. General Motors, which aimed to stop making internal combustion engines by 2035, is stepping back from its goal of producing 400,000 electric cars by mid-2024. They also scrapped plans to work with Honda on making more affordable electric cars. At Ford, executives are holding off on spending billions of dollars on electric vehicle investments, saying they don't need to make more cars yet. But it's not that Americans don't want electric cars, says Elizabeth Creer, Vice President of Electric Vehicle Practice at J.D. Power, a consumer intelligence firm. We ask over 2,000 people looking to buy a new car about their interest in electric cars every month, she says. In October, nearly 30% of them said they're likely to consider buying an electric car next. So, almost 1 out of every 3 people looking for a new car are really thinking about getting an electric one. Still, a few main reasons are slowing down how many electric cars Americans are buying. These are obstacles that need fixing before electric car sales in the US can take off like experts predicted. One big problem holding back electric car adoption is affordability. Even though prices are dropping and the US is offering tax credits, electric cars are still much pricier than regular cars that run on gasoline. With interest rates in the US at their highest in 20 years, most Americans just can't afford the higher price tag for an electric car. We looked at electric car prices over 13 years in the US, and when you adjust for inflation, the average price of an electric car is actually going up, says Ashley Nunes, a senior researcher at Harvard Law School. That's a real issue. When everyday people compare the prices of electric cars and gasoline cars, they often see a difference of $15,000 to $20,000. And in that situation, it's pretty clear which one they're going to pick. Besides the cost of buying an electric car, there are other expenses to think about. While regular cars need maintenance and gas, electric cars have extra costs. In some states, it costs more to register an electric car. Some states also make owners pay for services regularly, and repairs can be pricier too. At the same time, the price of electricity can change, so it might not always be cheaper to fuel up an electric car, especially if the owner charges it at home. Charging an electric car can be tough though. Noon says there's another problem for many regular folks. They don't have anywhere to charge their cars. Experts agree that having lots of public charging stations is really important for more people to start using electric cars. But right now, there aren't enough of them. Charging stations are hard to find, especially in poorer and minority neighbourhoods. And even when you do find one, it might not work properly. As more electric cars hit the roads, Creer says problems arise because there aren't enough chargers to keep up. This makes people doubt whether lawmakers and car makers can set up a good charging system soon. And when people lose faith in electric cars, they might not think it's the right choice for them anymore. Nunes points out that most people who buy electric cars also have regular cars. They're not getting rid of their regular cars, they're just adding an electric car to their collection. What do you think about this? Do share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Until next time, see you all.